I think my biggest regrets in life have been when I wasn't living authentically to myself, when I betrayed myself. I'll give you an example. I regret not going to Carnival in Brazil this year. Just some context, my girlfriend at the time was living in Europe, but I had already maxed out my European Schengen zone days, so I had to leave the Schengen zone for 3 months. Anyways, we were geographically separated for 3 months. I remember one phone call telling her that I wanted to go to Brazil, and to my surprise, she reacted angrily, telling me, oh, you just want to go there and sleep with other girls, and this is just additional proof that you can't settle down and always need to be traveling. And I remember after that call being so pissed off and thinking, like, why do I have somebody in my life who doesn't accept me for who I am? And if anything, she should be encouraging me to go to Brazil, because if the alternative is me just lounging around my parents' home, then wouldn't it be much better for me to go to a foreign country that I want to go to and learn, where I can learn and grow as a person, have new experiences, etc.? Shouldn't she want me to do what would make me most happy? So I told myself, I'm going to go anyways. And if she wants to leave me for that, well, she doesn't belong in my life anyways. So unfortunately, that courage was only fleeting, and I ended up not going. The relationship was a bit rocky, and I didn't want to take that risk. I'm not going to say it's only because of that, because also I had recently started a job, and I thought, oh, maybe like there's a risk to going there. Maybe I'll be less productive, so I should play it safe. So I ended up staying in the US, and I lost the girlfriend, the job, and I had probably the most miserable 2 weeks of my life. And it's not just about those events that made it miserable. In hindsight, I realized it was also the fact that I wasn't living authentically to myself, and I hadn't gone to Brazil, even though that's where I wanted to go, and I had become just a weaker version of myself. And I didn't even fully realize this at the time. I'm not necessarily even saying that, oh, Brazil would have been this amazing time. I mean, it would have been. Like, don't get me wrong, it would have been an amazing time, and it would have been much better. I know that, but okay, I didn't actually go, so I can't really say for sure. But what I do know is that historically, the times where I felt the worst have been when I wasn't living authentically to myself. You regret the risks you didn't take, not the ones you did take, right? Like I don't ever regret approaching a girl that maybe where it was like maybe it felt risky, or it felt uncomfortable, or whatever. It could have been embarrassing. I don't regret any of that. I only regret the ones that I didn't do. I don't ever regret working on a project that I was passionate about. I only regret the projects that I wanted to work on that I didn't work on. So do what is most authentic to you. And when you do that, you'll find that rarely do you regret anything. You regret the things you didn't try. And I'll give you an example also of another thing I don't regret. So I'm here right now in the Himalayas in northern India, and I wasn't planning to come here. I flew into India partly to get my mind off the breakup, let's be honest. But I was curious about the country, and I wanted that culture shock. And I gotta say, India has not only delivered on that, it has exceeded on that. But I flew into Amritsar, and I didn't know where to go next. And so I just asked everybody, and most people were telling me, go up to Dharamshala in the mountains. And I was a little bit hesitant because even though I've traveled a lot, I've generally tended to be kind of lazy with my traveling and just stick to big cities with airports. But this time I felt, you know what, now is the time, like the time is right. I should go up and explore the mountains. And if I don't like it, I can always just leave. But if I don't do it, then I will regret it. And so that's the right thing for me to try. So I took the long bus ride, and again, I was hesitant. I was so glad I did, because I ended up really enjoying it. I extended my stay, and I stayed almost a week in that first place in Baksu. But then I also heard that there was paragliding 2.5 hours away, and I had never paraglided before, and it was something that I really wanted to try. This is also one of the paragliding capitals of the world. So but it's like, do I want to go on the 2.5 hour ride? I ended up going, and I gotta say, the paragliding experience, I can say I enjoyed it. It was relaxing, but honestly, it was a little bit underwhelming, and it wasn't as exhilarating as I expected. So if somebody were in a similar position to me in Dharamshala, asking me, oh, like, is it worth going to beer just for paragliding? I would say, no, not really. If you're on the fence, then not really. But do I regret going? Hell no. I'm so glad I went, because it's what I wanted to do, and I wouldn't have known had I not tried. And if I didn't go, I know I would have regretted not going. And currently I'm in Manali, which is a 6.5 hour drive away from beer. I gotta say, I didn't like. I wanted to go to Manali just because I was curious, but at the same time, that 6.5 hour drive, I was really hesitant because I really didn't want to do that. But at the end of the day, I knew that it was the right thing for me to go and try it out. And even though it wasn't the most comfortable thing, and I'm glad I came here. I'm currently in a beautiful room with this beautiful view, and maybe I could have come here and had a miserable time, and or maybe I'll leave tomorrow or the day after, who knows. But coming here for me was the best decision, and I'm glad I made that. For me, the easier decision would have been to just go back to Delhi, or go to Delhi, to this big city, and just not do these things. And by the way, if that's what I genuinely felt was the best decision, then it would be the right thing for me to do. But deep down, I knew that I wanted to try to go to these mountains, and so it was the right decision for me to do that. So at the end of the day, I guess to summarize all of this, you know what you need to be doing, and so go do that. Do what's most authentic to you, and don't regret anything when you're living most authentically to yourself. And it's not always going to be peaches and roses. Like, when you take risk, there will be times where it doesn't work out. But as long as you're living authentically to yourself, then don't regret any of that. And I'm not just telling you that. I'm saying, as humans, we tend to not regret when we're living most authentically to yourself. And again, I believe every decision you make makes you either stronger or weaker. You either become more the type of person who goes after what they want and is courageous and lives authentically to themselves, or you become a weaker version of yourself that is the type of person who caves into resistance, stays in the comfort zone, and just becomes a more pathetic version of themselves that's just slowly killing their true inner desires and just becoming a shell of who they want to be. So be mindful of every decision you make and live authentically to yourself, and do that rational thing that you know you need to do.